1, go. Good?
Yep.
I overthought it. I had it. Dude.
3, 2, 1, and then just go. Done?
I overthought it last second. Okay. Hold
Blooper,
on.
brother! Blooper!
Oh, no.
Tennessee! Hello, brother!
Tennessee.
Oh, shit.
Hello, brothers.
Special teams, special players, special plays.
Special teams, special players, special. All right, welcome back to the second episode of the Tailgate Talk Show. I'm joined by my co-host, Hunter and Cian, and today we're going to be talking about players you can buy, sell, and hold on to. We're also going to be talking about the new rule changes, so let's get into it. I'm going to start off with Hunter's buy now player.
All right, so this is strictly for Dynasty football. We are in a non-superflex league, so we only use one quarterback, no tight end premium. So keep that in mind when we go through our buy now, sells, and hold on to. If you guys want to use this for fantasy coming up this year in the draft, then you guys can use it for that too. But yeah, let's jump right into it. So my first buy now is Jayden Reed, who had 64 receptions, 793 yards, and 8 touchdowns through the air this season. And he also had 11 carries for 119 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Now, Jayden Reed is an insane buy now. He is a rookie, and he has phenomenal slot potential. He did all of that with only seeing 56% of the snaps. His rushing upside is there. I think seeing what he did off of 11 carries, some of them were out of the backfield, some of them were sweeps. He was all over the place when it came to his carries. I think they see that, and they want to move him all over the place this upcoming season. He has a ton of potential, and I think he is easily compared to Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel is the first receiver we've really seen in recent years do this, I think, of all time, right? Has anybody else at all jumped in the backfield to take a couple snaps?
I mean, there's got to be a couple.
I would say there's probably a couple, but none of them really come to mind like
in recent memory.
Yeah,
like super
I think
recent.
Jayden Reed could really be that guy to step up and take his place as Deebo's getting older. Had a phenomenal career and is still going. He's still pushing. He can still be really good. But he has huge rushing upside, and all of his stats are off of 56% of snaps. I think you can get him easily if you give up a high second round pick like 202, 203. That's probably where I would put Jayden Reed.
Yeah, I mean, I like Jayden Reed a bunch. I actually tried getting him, but that didn't go very well for me.
It
I tried. I mean, everyone in our league though is really high on Jayden Reed. I feel like in our league it's at least tougher to get him, but
we're all obsessed with Jayden Reed. So our league mates know.
Yeah, honestly, I really like Jayden Reed. I think he's got a lot of upside. He's got a lot of potential. I don't think he's quite to Deebo's level yet, but I think he could definitely be there in a couple of years. Give him a couple of years, and who knows what happens. But I like Jayden Reed. I think that's a good buy. I think he's got a lot of potential, and I like that a lot. But anyways, moving on to my buy. My buy player, if you guys watched last week's pod, you know I'm high on this guy. I really like this guy. It's actually Darnell Mooney, the new Atlanta Falcon. And for a little context, honestly, first of all, I got clowned for holding on to Darnell Mooney, but I like him a lot, and especially by these two guys. I just want to make that clear. You guys clown me for being high on Darnell Mooney, but he's in a much better situation. The Falcons are coming out of a rebuild. They just got a brand new quarterback in Kirk Cousins. He's old, but I mean, he still got it in. And last season, he had a great season, MVP caliber before he went down with that Achilles tear. So I think he's a much better passer than Justin Fields, and that's just purely based on stats and watching the two quarterbacks play. He has 1,000-yard season potential. He actually eclipsed 1,000 yards in 2021. He had 1,055 yards with the Chicago Bears, and that was back when they didn't have DJ Moore. So he was getting more looks, but I think he definitely has the potential. And the Falcons are going to spread the love, honestly, around. They got Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan now since last year, who had a great season, and now they just added Darnell Mooney, who's another deep threat. And honestly, I really like the upside. on Darnell Mooney. I think he's an instant buy. I think you could get him easily for a mid-second. And honestly, I like him a lot, and I think he has a lot of potential this season to break out.
Yeah, I mean,
And I agree because
yeah,
I clowned you. I did a lot, and I'm
I
not
know you
gonna
did.
lie.
I know you did.
the biggest
I
Darnell
still
Mooney
probably
truther
could,
ever.
but that's strictly based off his production with the Bears because it just wasn't
Yeah,
there. He had one
really.
good season in 2021, but I think that might have just been the Bears system with Eberflus and Nagy, right? He was
Matt
the Bears
Nagy,
coach
yeah.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
he's
he
definitely in a
hasn't.
better system now, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I thought
Gonna help him
the
out a
addition of
lot.
DJ Moore would open him up last season a little bit.
And it really didn't.
Didn't really work out. I think he broke 600 yards last year.
He had like 650, 640.
But I like where he's at now. Atlanta could possibly have a brand new coach.
Yeah,
Arthur
new
Smith is
coach, that's
gone. Thank
huge.
God. Good for the Falcons. They got their quarterback. Only problem with Darnell Mooney I have right now is that he's getting targets demanded away from him by Kyle Pitts and Drake London.
And
besides that-
even Bijan in the
Yeah,
receiving.
even
game, too.
Bijan too out of the backfield, yeah. So
I mean-
honestly, out of that, I think you can. I agree with the mid-second round grade. If you can, and you're good at talking with your league mates, you know what you're doing. You know how to hype up your players. You know how to hype up your picks, whatever it is. I think you can get Darnell Mooney for a low second, like 208 would be a perfect value for him. I think. Bank on his upside and buy him while you can, because I think he could skyrocket after this year.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think you might even be able to get him for a third.
Maybe.
I mean, it
I
just,
don't know.
it just
He's
really
in it.
depends who.
He's got
who
some
you're
hype
trading with,
around him.
though.
He's got some hype
Yeah.
around him right now just because he's in a new system, and the Falcons they have some hype around, any of the Falcons players. Obviously,
Yeah.
Bijan is worth maybe. What do you guys think Bijan's worth? I think he's at least worth like
A lot.
2 firsts, maybe.
lot.
Like
Bijan's worth probably
3?
3. Yeah.
3,
Him,
you think? Yeah.
him
Yeah.
Brees Hall, and Jameer are all in a
Yeah,
separate
a
thing
league
on
of
their own.
Yeah,
Just because they're young, they're very explosive.
Yeah.
I think all those guys could easily be worth 3, depending on what manager has them.
yeah.
But anyway, Tone, what's your buy?
My buy is Tank Dell, actually. I really like him a lot. He was actually on pace, way over pace for 1,000 yards. He had 709 yards in 10 games before his ACL tear. And I think that ACL tear also lowers down his price. Maybe you can get him for a
Wait. So
mid-second.
you said 790 yards in 10 games?
Or 709. 709 yards in 10 games. Yeah.
Still 700
still,
yards
so
in
wait.
10 games? That's like a 1,300 receiving yard season if he
Still
stays
had
healthy.
7 games left.
Oh my god.
So he was well on pace for over 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
And he has a connection with Shroud as well, which I like.
Yeah.
I think they have a better connection.
Stroud
than
actually
Nico
pitched in for
Collins.
him when he
the
was drafted
combine.
day 1. He told his coaches that he wants to be paired with Tank Dell,
Yeah.
and they brought him in. And unbelievably explosive that dude is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tank Dell, his price is being brought down with his ACL tear as expected, but
Yeah.
now is the time to grab him. He showed what he could do. Like Tony said, well over 1,000 yards if he was able to play all 17 games. Much worth a high second round, but I think mid-second probably the best place to go. But like I said, if you're giving up a high second, you have 201, 202, I'd be more than willing to give that up for Tank Dell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly,
Yeah, I
I
think it
really
was,
like that. I really like that.
And I'd be ecstatic about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like
I
that.
Combine, or it was it the Senior Bowl? I don't know. It was the Combine or the Senior Bowl, but yeah, they were like working out with each other. Like that was Stroud's wide receiver, so yeah, he pitched in.
Yeah.
Helped them get drafted, and so they have that connection, and I think Stroud's going to be the franchise quarterback. I think he's already proved that. So yeah, I think he's he's still young. He was a rookie last year, so I mean,
Yeah.
definitely
Absolutely.
go out and get him.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we're going to move on to the sells now. Hunter, you want to start us off there?
Yep. So my sell now is very controversial. I don't know how you guys are gonna like this. For Dynasty, my sell now is Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones this last season played 11 games, had 142 carries, 656 yards off those carries, with 2 touchdowns and 2 fumbles.
Yeesh.
And through the air, he had 30 receptions, 233 yards, and 1 touchdown. Now, Aaron Jones is 29 years old. Reality's got to start to kick in. That historically good draft class of 2017 with running backs, they're all getting old.
Yeah.
It's showing. Aaron Jones missed 6 games this last season, and he just got cut by Green Bay after acquiring Josh Jacobs. And he is not getting paid much. He went to a division rival. He went to the Vikings. He signed a 1-year, $7 million deal. Can he be schemed around? Is he really that important to be schemed around if he's only getting paid $7 million? That combined with the age and the injuries, that's what tells me that raises the red flags to sell him.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think he is in a great situation. Besides quarterback from Minnesota, which we don't know if they're going to trade up the draft. We don't know if they're going to trade for one. We don't know what the plan is for them. But I'm sure that'll get resolved.
Yeah.
They have a phenomenal offensive line. So I'm not worried about that at all. And I think that actually boosts his value a little bit, being in that system. So I think, and another one, you could get like a high second round off of him. And I'd be ecstatic to get him off my team. Move on from him. Get a younger guy in this year's draft.
Yeah. Honestly, I agree.
I think after this year, you're not going to be able to sell him.
Yeah, no. I don't think so either. So sell him while you can. Sell him early. Get him out before it's too late.
Yeah, honestly, I agree with that one. So moving on to my sell, we got Tony Pollard. And if you guys know, I'm a Cowboys fan. Unfortunately, Tony Pollard was supposed to be the shit. He was supposed to be everything that Zeke wasn't. And honestly, he just really didn't pan out. And now he's moving to the Titans. And the Titans, statistically, have the worst offensive line in the NFL. They have finished in last in blocking efficiency. They were first in sacks allowed. And
holy shit.
Honestly, yeah, they had a pitiful season. They were like a rotating, revolving door in and out of injuries, and honestly, just a bad situation in front of Tony Pollard. Also, they drafted Tyjae Spears last year. Tyjae Spears has more of an upside. He's younger, and I think he has more explosiveness and more potential, honestly, than Tony Pollard. So who knows? They end up splitting carries, or Tony Pollard gets moved right into running back 2. That ruins his value. And then the last thing is he's coming off a down season behind one of the best offensive lines in football with the Dallas Cowboys. Now, granted, they aren't the same offensive line going into next year, but he's not going to be running behind them next year. So he barely eclipsed 1,000 yards. I think he had like 1,020 yards, and he got it in like the last game, in like the third or fourth quarter of the season. That was after he secured the lead role in Dallas, and Zeke wasn't even a part of the picture. Not to mention, he only got into the end zone 6 times all year, and he had only one game. There's
no tush pushes involved. No tush pushes either.
But yeah, he only had one game with over 100 yards rushing, and that was week 3 against Arizona. And Dallas ended up losing that game, so it didn't even matter.
He only had one 100-yard game?
One in the entire season, and it was against Arizona in week 3. And honestly, I think with all that put together, I think even considering one of those reasons is enough to sell him, but putting all that together, there's just no reason to hold on to him anymore. I think you get the value while it's there before he plummets off the face of the earth. Because,
and now listen, I think I may have a little bias.
I think he's outclassed.
But as a Tyjae Spears owner, I think Tyjae could completely go from splitting snaps to taking over that role as soon as week 3 or week 4.
Yeah.
Tyjae has the explosiveness. Last year, Tyjae was primarily used as a receiving back. And now that Tony Pollard comes in.
With Derrick Henry in.
Yes. And Tony Pollard is a receiving back. but why? I don't see why they would have 2 receiving back. Might as well just give all the load to the best back.
Which
And
in
I
this
think Tajay
case,
has the explosiveness and the efficiency.
it could be
will take
Tony
over.
Pollard or it could be Tyjae Spears, but if they're similar in skill, then why not give the reps to the younger guy?
Yeah,
Exactly.
He has more upside for them in the long
I
term.
agree.
But in any event, I don't think it's really worth it to hold on to Tony Pollard. I think you should sell him while his value is still there. But in any event, I think his value is going down anyway. So maybe a low second would be enough to sell him off. Maybe that's what you'd get, but I don't know if you'd get any more than that.
Yeah, probably.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'd say like mid low second.
Yeah.
Probably get for him. My sell is actually a move I already made this offseason, and that's Alvin Kamara. For one, he's getting old. He's 28, which I know that's not crazy old, but for a running back who's been in the league for a while,
He's aging.
he's aging, and his production is going down, and it's showing. Now this is not a major jump, but he went yards per carry from 4 to 3.8.
Which
And his
already
yards
isn't
per
that
catch-
great.
Yeah, and that's already not that great. But he is more of a receiving back, but his yards per catch went from 8.6 to 6.2. So I
Holy
mean, and
shit.
so that's a
Wow.
big, that's a big drop off for a receiving back, and a guy who's obviously has not been,
Yeah.
And this is
not
once
been
again,
running the
this is
ball well.
another back from the 2017 draft class
Yeah,
where you had
Started the
Kamara,
fade.
Jones, Eckler. There was like 5-6 backs that turned out amazing for their respective franchises that came out of that draft. Now they're all getting older, so I would seriously consider when it comes to sell now. I would look into whoever you have if you have somebody from that 2017 draft class. Really look into it. Because I know Eckler didn't do that good either last year. He just moved to a completely new system over there in Washington.
Yeah.
I think all these guys are they're getting old. That's what it is. All these 2017 running backs, their shelf life is done.
Yeah,
It's over with.
and that's another guy you could sell as Eckler, especially
Yep.
with Brian Robinson in that running back room as well. That's another
Yep.
young guy like Tajay who can just be the main running back
Yeah.
midway through the season.
hmm
I would say
The
the
only
only
rea-
one the only one from that draft class who really hasn't fallen off is CMC.
Yeah, Joe Mixon too. Joe Mixon didn't have a bad year
Yeah.
last year.
And I
Yeah.
really like
But
Joe
Joe
Mixon's
Joe
I like
Mixon
Joe
is
Mixon
another
too.
one though that can be questionable. The only one that's
Yeah.
undeniably don't hold on to till he retires if you're in Dynasty is Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
I would hold on to him for unless you get an insane offer, there's no reason to move him.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree. I think he'll be worth the first until he retires.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you look at other names in this class, Dalvin Cook doesn't have a starting role anymore. James Conner honestly had a decent season last year. Kareem Hunt doesn't have a starting role anymore. Leonard Fournette still? He's a starter. No, he was a
He's a
backup
free
in
agent.
Buffalo, right?
Yeah, he's a free agent now.
He's a backup in Buffalo last season.
I mean,
Half of
James Cook
these
won me the championship.
running backs aren't even in the league anymore. I mean, Wayne Gallman. Do you guys even know who that is? Because I don't.
Nope.
He played for the Giants.
He did.
He played for the Giants. I don't know where he's at now. He played for the Giants last year or the year before.
Matt Breida's been a solid backup for the Giants for the past couple of years. Corey Clement for the Eagles. I mean, this draft class was good. Don't get me wrong,
Mhm.
but like Hunter said, they're just getting old.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, James Conner though, really underrated player last year. If it wasn't for he gave me a championship run. Him and Zamir. I have Jacobs, so I had to pick up Zamir when Jacobs got injured. And those two running backs honestly carried me to the championship. And I think Connor had like a 30-point week in the championship that ultimately won me the championship last year.
Yep.
Right.
I'm a huge James Conner
Yeah,
fan.
Connor had a really productive year last year in Arizona. And
Not
honestly,
even-
they didn't have the best offensive line. I think Connor
No.
just carried that offense as it was with Kyler
Yeah.
Murray being out.
No,
That whole
honestly, he had a great
situation.
year.
I mean, and now
Marquise Brown being
Marvy
hurt.
probably coming in. Gonna take some pressure off that
They'll
run
take the
game
workload
there.
off.
Yeah.
Trey McBride they have as well.
That's honestly a good point.
Yeah. So James Conner, maybe another good season ahead.
But like Alvin Kamara, he's getting up there in age.
They're getting old.
Yeah.
They're all getting older. I think Connor's 28 as well.
Yeah.
Now, looking forward, the 2025 draft class is said supposedly to be the next 2017 draft when it comes to running backs. Next year is supposed to be running back heavy. A lot of juniors, a lot of seniors are all getting ready to come on into the draft. Some of them graduated early, decided to declare early, like Trey Benson left early. I think Jonathan Brooks left early.
Yeah.
So those two are taken out of the mixer into this year, but everybody else is left for next year. So that's good to look out for. If you could load up on picks next year, I would. That'd probably be the smart thing to do. Like if you're in a spot where you have a good team, you don't know what direction you want to go with a certain pick in a certain round, trade back 1 year. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah,
You only
why
love
not?
yourself later.
Right. Honestly, I agree with that. All right, so we're gonna move into our holds. Hunter, start us off there.
So my hold is actually Darnell Mooney's old teammate. I got Cole Kmet. I would hold on to him for sure. Last year he had 73
good one.
receptions. He had 719 yards and 6 touchdowns with those receptions. Now, that was with Justin Fields pretty much his whole career. And now Justin Fields is obviously gone. He's going to get a new quarterback, which is most likely, I'm like 99.9% sure that's going to be Caleb Williams, which will be phenomenal. And even with Justin Fields last year, he was tight end 8. He was targeted a lot by Justin Fields. Him and Fields had a really good connection. And he caught 81% of his targets, which proves that he can be a consistent threat when targeted.
Honestly, I agree.
I think the move of bringing Keenan Allen and DeAndre Swift over to Chicago is going to demand some targets away from him. But it should also open him wide open.
He's like one of those players that kind of gives me the old reliable kind of feel. Like if nobody else is open, you throw it to Cole Kmet, he's going to catch it.
Throw it up. Like you said, 81%,
That's exactly what he was for the Bears last year. I think with Caleb Williams, I think certainly he should be better if Caleb Williams lives up to the hype that's going on around him right now.
Yeah.
And I think with the addition of Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift, along with DJ Moore, should open him wide up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I agree with that. I like that pick.
I agree.
Honestly, Cole Kmet, he's a solid player. And
I would hold on to him for.
He's one of those players that kind of flew under the radar. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the last couple seasons we haven't really heard of him. And then the last season he had a great year. He really broke
last
out.
season he popped. So that's what it was.
So,
and
honestly,
I would hold on to him for all. I would keep him at all costs until mid next season, like right before the deadline. If you're not satisfied, move on from him. But I would at least keep him for next season.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot.
I think he's graded probably around mid-second.
I would probably give a mid-second, and I wouldn't feel any shame doing so.
At best, 204.
But yeah, so we're gonna move on to my hold. My hold, honestly, it might come as a surprise to some people, but honestly, if you are at all familiar with our fantasy league, you know that I really like Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think JSN is arguably the most talented wide receiver of the 2023 draft last year. I mean, you got people like Zay Flowers and Rashee Rice who had a good system around them, but talent-wise, something about those Ohio State receivers just they're different. They're bred differently. They just have league potential almost 100% of the time. He has great mentors in DK and Tyler Lockett. I mean, Tyler Lockett's on his 12th season in the NFL or something. Like he's been,
something like that.
He's old timey workhorse. He's in a great system historically for wide receivers. Let's not forget that. Got names like Doug Baldwin. Huge Seahawks pass game in the past 10, 15 years or so. Lockett's also getting old, so pretty soon it's going to be JSN moving up to that wide receiver 2 spot. And even as a wide receiver 3, he had nearly 650 yards in a couple He had like 2 or 3 touchdowns last year as a wide receiver 3. And he had a fairly decent target share, once again, for being a wide receiver 3. I think you hold on to this guy for a couple seasons and it's going to pay dividends. I think
for sure. I wouldn't give
easy
up on him.
hold.
Yeah, he was just a rookie last year.
Yeah.
And especially like Cian said, if he's the 3rd wide receiver on his team, you certainly can't sleep on a rookie for having, quote unquote, a down year for the first receiver off the board. You can't really hold that to him yet. For sure, hold on to him for at least one more season. See where it goes. Just really feel him out. There's not really hype around him anyway, so I don't think anybody would necessarily try to send you a good offer for him.
Yeah.
Unless your league mates don't know what they're doing. I mean, take advantage of him if that's the case. But
you scumbag.
I would definitely hold on to him.
All the time.
That's what I do all the time.
Yeah,
gotta do it. Gotta do what you gotta do.
Honestly, I'm really high on JSN. I think he's going to be a great player, and once he gets into the right spot, I think he could really do well.
Yeah,
but Tony's going to wrap up this segment with his hold here.
My hold, a guy I really, really like, and that is Michael Pittman. And he's still young, 26, wide receiver 1 on his team. He was wide receiver 13 last year in fantasy, and he missed a game, and that was also with his backup quarterback, which probably the best backup quarterback you could have with Gardner Minshew. But let's not forget Anthony Richardson. He looked good in those games he played. I think he's got the potential to be a franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
Pittman with his brand new 3-year contract extension. I mean, that could be a scary duo. And another thing I really like about him is that he's consistent. He really didn't have any terrible games last year, and he's also not really touchdown dependent as well. So he's going to get you those receptions, he's going to get you those yards, and then if he gets that touchdown, it's a bonus. And
that's a huge aspect of having a wide receiver like that, because if they're touchdown dependent and they're the types of dudes who they'll go 6 for 50 yards and 2 touchdowns, like that's not the type. Like, believe me, it's good. It's good to have a guy like that, but it's not dependable for a long amount of time.
Week in, week out, we want someone who's producing yards.
You want a guy who is getting those targets, a guy who can go up and grab the fucking football. And when it comes to doing that, Michael Pittman is that guy, and I for sure would be holding on to him.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm a little less sold on him than you two seem to be, but I don't dislike Michael Pittman. I think the Colts, it's really tough to like put a label on them because they're not really in a rebuild, but they're not really in a state in their franchise where they're exceeding certain expectations. They're right around that 9-8, 10-7 season every single season. They're very consistent, and like Michael Pittman is consistent, I think the Colts kind of follow suit with that. But I definitely I don't mind the pick. I like Michael Pittman, but maybe not as much as you guys do.
Yeah.
And his price as of right now, so we actually me and Cian both clown.
Oh yeah.
The hell out of Tony, because he acquired Michael Pittman right before our trade deadline for a 1st-round pick, and me and Cian
11 at the time, by the way.
Me and Cian lit into this poor kid. Now
2026 first too, by the way.
Now, you're gonna hate yourself later for that. I think still, because you at the time you could have. I get it. He was wide receiver 10. He was still good, but at the time you did not need to give up a 1st-round pick. You could have easily got him for like a 2nd and a 3rd. Easily.
Yeah, but
I agree.
One of my main problems is, I started off 1-4, and that was because I was dealing with injuries. I had no depth, and I made a couple trades, and ultimately won the chip. But my depth still wasn't the greatest. But this offseason I was really able to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully no dumb moves like that, during the year.
Now that the season's ended, got a full look of Michael Pittman this year. He really took that next step. Now is where I would price him at a low 1st-round pick. A low 1st-round
Whoa,
pick.
3rd.
Yo, man. Misinput, calm down. Misinput.
You want to deal him to me for a 3rd-round pick?
309.
Oh, yeah.
309.
Yeah.
310.
Sign the contract, big boy.
Send it over.
Yeah,
Alrighty,
Michael
boys.
Pittman, for sure. Holding on to him.
Yeah, for sure. Boys, we're going to switch topics a little bit. We got some breaking news in the league. It came out today. We got a couple rule changes. Got to touch on them before the end of the pod. But yeah, we're going to start here with the first and probably least impactful rule change of this offseason. So thus far, we don't know if anything else is going to be changed in the upcoming weeks. But they actually changed the system of challenge flags. So before, you had to win 2 back-to-back challenges to get a third challenge flag. Now you only have to win 1 of your 2, and you'll get that extra one. What do you boys think on that? What are your thoughts?
I think it's fair because if you lose a timeout. So I think you should be granted with something if you end up winning it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it, honestly, because refs are terrible nowadays. So honestly, you need all the challenges you can get because they're
And
going to make some
honestly,
fucked up
the
calls.
refs are going to be looking a lot worse with these next 2 rule changes that we're going to mention here in a little bit. Flags are going to be flying. So if you could challenge and get another one, then
By all
why not?
means. Yeah, by all means. But that actually brings us into our next rule change. This one, I'm going to sit up in my chair for this because honestly,
Bro's locking in. He's locking in.
I don't know how I feel about this. I think you boys know what I'm talking about. It's the ban of the hip drop tackle. You guys don't know what the hip drop tackle is. I will put a clip on screen right now of an example. But I guess take the floor, guys. I don't really have any words on
Well,
this.
listen. So I understand, right? So you can't hit helmet to helmet as a defender. I agree with that to full extent. Why?
Yeah.
Why knock players the fuck out? That's not how it's supposed to be, right? So I understand that. You can't go helmet to helmet. You can't absolutely just shoot for below the knees. You can't hip drop. You're asking all of these defensive players who, especially the older guys who have been in the league for 12, 13 years. And that's not counting if they played Pop Warner or through high school, whatever they started. These guys have gone double-digit years playing football the way they learned back then. Now you're asking these guys to completely change the way they play the game. You're asking them to learn a different job, basically.
Yeah.
It's not fair to them.
Honestly, like I get it. They're trying to protect players, but in the same sense, it's just there's a line that needs to be drawn between player safety and the integrity of the game, and I feel like the NFL is going a little bit too far with this ban. Like I said, I get the whole player protection. They want to, protect players. They want to make sure injuries aren't, a dime a dozen, but there comes a point where it's a contact sport and there are going to be injuries.
People are going to get hurt.
People are going to get hurt, and people have gotten hurt. There's never been a season in the NFL ever that no injuries have been reported.
Yeah.
Ever.
I mean,
it's just a part of the game, and there has to be a way to protect the integrity of the game and also protect the players. And I don't think this is it.
I mean, you guys took the words like right out of my mouth, but what I want to add is the players didn't get a say in this at all, which I think is dumb. It was only the GMs. But, let the players at least get a say in it. They're the ones playing. They're the ones making these tackles, getting tackled this way. Like, it's going to happen. You're going to get hurt when you get tackled no matter what way. Like, it's just going to happen.
And not to mention that if you are caught with a hip drop tackle, it is a 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
And it's like...
What are we doing?
Yeah, it's like another reason for a ref to throw a flag at the end of a game and just... be controversial. So
it's just another random flag a ref could throw, honestly, towards the end of a close game and completely ruin it. There's no point.
We have a lot of bad calls this year.
I mean, be on the lookout for this. This is definitely going to change the way that defense is played. Around the league completely. Speaking of changing the way that the game is going to be played around the league completely, we have a brand new rule change today to kickoffs and onside kicks. So, the biggest change is in kickoffs. There's no more traditional kickoffs where the whole, kicking team is lined up at the 35. It's going to be just the kicker on the 35 kicking the ball to one receiver, and then he's got all of his blockers on the 25 or the 30, like right in front of him, and then
So the
5
kickoff
yards
team is
apart.
lined up on the other team's 40, and the receiving team's line is lined up on their 35, so they're 5 yards apart.
They're 5 yards apart. It's similar to the XFL and the USFL.
XFL, UFL, yeah.
So I mean, it's interesting. There's definitely a lot more small little quirks about this new system, and we'll put like a little screenshot of how it will ultimately work and look. But honestly, I don't know. Again, this seems like they're trying to protect players, but this is not the change that is going to do that. Honestly,
No.
I don't know what they were trying to do here. And then they changed the onside kick rule too, where you have to declare that you're going for an onside kick. I mean,
yeah, it's ridiculous.
Isn't the entire point of an onside kick to like kind of like catch the team off guard and get the ball back?
Not every time, you know.
Not every time, but I mean, it takes away like, I don't know,
those opening kickoffs, you know, where they hit you with the onside, or out of halftime, some teams will hit you with the onside and they'll recover it. But it's like not, you know, now you can't do that anymore because now they have to know. So I think it's really
it's a weird and unnecessary change, and I feel like that's like kind of the theme here with
I'm
these
not
rule changes.
mad. I'm not necessarily mad at this rule. I'm just kind of dumbfounded because you're right. I think this is another thing for player safety, make sure everybody plays the game without having to go through injury, and I understand that. But you did not need to change kickoff for this. An alternative, I think you should just get rid of all turf completely.
I completely agree.
Getting rid of all turf completely and installing grass fields in every single stadium would be a lot more beneficial to the game than completely revolutionizing how the game starts and ends.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. That's a W take, honestly. W take.
And honestly, I think this is another thing for the NFL where they want more explosive games. They're looking for more money,
they want
viewers.
More
I think they're trying to edge closer to the offense having the advantage so that both teams end up with 50-plus points every fucking game. That's just what it comes down to. That's what all signs are pointing to.
No one wants to see a good defensive game anymore.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with a good defensive game.
I mean, it may be boring to watch, but if you're a true football fan.
There's nothing like that fourth down stop that you need late in the fourth quarter for your team to win, and you're watching your team and you're all excited. There's nothing better than that.
Yeah. I mean, now what you're going to see, that fourth down stop, and there comes the flag. Oh, hip drop tackle. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Now you lose a game on a 50-yard field goal.
Yeah.
Oh, what an ending. What an ending. What everyone
honestly,
wants.
And it's going to happen, and we're going to be mad about it. But, I mean, at the end of the day,
what can you do?
What are you going to do? You know, and you got to follow what the NFL is regulating, and it sucks. Honestly, it sucks, but like at the end of the day, it is what it is, and the players will have to play the game regardless.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not mad at it. There's just better ways to go through with this and revolutionizing the way the game starts.
I completely agree. And the kickoff just seemed like one of those unnecessary, just weird changes that they just wanted to just put out to change the game for whatever reason. I don't really get it all that much. But
I mean, here's the thing though, is it is a 1-year thing. So maybe they get rid of it. Hopefully they get rid of it after the year. It's a 1-year trial. So
hopefully.
Yeah. So
yeah, and honestly maybe like it's not as bad as we're
I mean, well, I mean,
maybe it's not as bad. And honestly, the layout that I saw, it was a USFL replay. I think honestly, with the talent in the league nowadays, we could be seeing a lot more kickoff returns for not even just touchdowns, but like just like a 60-70 yard kickoff return setting up inside the red zone off the kickoff.
Because the way this is set up, you can come up with so many trick plays just off of kickoff.
Oh yeah.
Which I mean, I guess that's why I'm not really mad. It'll be exciting to watch and different to see. But as I said, I think the fact that you're just messing up the game outweighs that factor.
Yeah. It's not football. It's just very weird. Like I don't know. And like it's in the USFL, but the NFL is not the USFL. I mean, let's
Exactly.
just call it how it is. I mean, there's a reason that the NFL has been around for 60 something years, and the USFL and the XFL go on and off seasons every couple years and don't have great viewership. And it's not the same game, and it's not the same talent, and it should not have the same rules. Obviously, there's some rules that are just kind of standard across like all football leagues.
Yeah.
I feel like this change was definitely just one to be weird. The NFL was just like, all right, how can we be weird this season and change unnecessary shit? But
Absolutely.
It is what it is, and honestly, it is what it is, and that's that, as they say.
Yep.
But anyways, that's gonna wrap up episode 2 of Tailgate Talk. We hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, leave your feedback in the comments below. Let us know what you think and any suggestions you have for future episodes. We'll always be looking at comments, and we appreciate all the love you guys give us. Last week's episode did really well, so we're really happy about that, and we're gonna keep coming back for more every Thursday, 3 o'clock. So keep an eye out. You guys do enjoy this, and yeah. Anyways, Tailgate Talk episode 2. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next week.